Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight, or whenever you're watching on the replay. We're so glad that you could join us. And my guest tonight is Angela McDermid. And Angela, thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh God, thank you so much. I feel like an honor to hop on and share my life's passion here.
Awesome. 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 I love to hear passion. I'm going to read a little bit of your bio here for
Okay.
people that don't know you. Angela McDermid is a holistic health coach and nursing professional who helps women move through menopause with grounded rhythms, gut healing nutrition, nervous system restoration, and nature based movement, blending practical science with spiritual wisdom. Grounded in compassion, faith, and her own lived experience, Angela's program called Empathic Reset Wellness, her ecosystem program, helps women in all phases of menopause rise into the next chapter of their lives with clarity and confidence. She's currently developing two new trademark programs based on nature-based wellness and balancing hormones through gut health and nourishment. And in the description below, there's more information about those programs and the links, as well as her social media and website link. And so I would like to start, Angela, if you could tell us a bit of your story, whatever amount like you'd like, but how, kind of in general, what shaped your life so that you're doing what you're doing now.
Well, I'd have to say I'm 51, so 5 decades worth of life experiences from the very beginning of the time that I was born on this planet to now. All of the things that I've learned over 50 years of my life, being with someone who passed away of cancer. And that was, I think, was one of the starts of where I looked at, like, not necessarily gut health, but looked at food and understood that food was going to harm us or heal us. This was something that I learned early on in my late 20s. And I didn't really fully grasp that, even though my partner at the time had passed away. We It wasn't until like later on in my 40s that I really experienced that, the understanding more about food and stuff, because I was having my own personal, like, massive outbreaks all over my body, and like humongous hives and outbreaks. And I didn't realize that it was from what I was eating. And on top of all that, also my nervous system reacting to stressors of life and stuff, because I've worked almost 20 years in healthcare, and we don't really talk about what the damage happens when you're in that fight or flight mode 24/7. So this is like my life's work of everything that I've looked at. And it wasn't until this last year that I dove into hiking, and it was kind of not something I never really done. I'd done it before, but it wasn't like, oh, I got to do this or whatever. It just was a goal of something I set out to do, to choose myself over everybody else around me. And I was in a relationship where this man was always gone in and out. And so I always worked my life around that instead of myself. And so in that process, stepping out on a trail, it changed everything for me. It changed the way that I looked at work. It changed the way that I felt in my body. When I was out there, like what I was sharing with you earlier, is like what nature actually does. And it's not just nature outside, it's also the nature inside your own home with your plants and those kinds of things. And it doesn't have to necessarily be on a trail, it could be just a walk around the park that you're experiencing the release from all the life things that happen during the weekday. And that's the experience that I learned when I was out on the trail, and what it did for me, because I would feel this pent up feeling inside constantly. And then and so I hiked once a week, sometimes twice a week. And so it was my outlet and it was the next phase of what tool I use during this season of life that I'm in, because I mean, we talk about menopause and perimenopause and all those things, but what we talk about is the hot flashes, can't sleep, all those different kinds of things, but we don't really talk about what types of solutions are there, or we talk about, we feel like we're broken, like there's something wrong with us. And so what I've learned this past year in all of the chaoticness of my life, that one thing was the trail, and it was what was the next added thing to the gut health and food and nutrition, the things that I would do when it came to uh, bone broth and juicing, like a cleanse type thing. And I would hear people say, "Oh, that's not doesn't work," da, da, all this stuff. But it's not about what works uh, per se. Like, like if people would be like, "Oh, I've got the right um, package food that would work perfect for a cleanse." To me, that's
Okay.
just crazy. It's like, why would you do that? This still gives you back the things that it needs, right? So these were just all the added things on top of everything else that I know it sounds like I'm all over the place because it feels like it, because I can't even believe I'm sitting here sharing this with you. Because it's like something that, I was on a call earlier today, and it kind of shaped the where I am in everything, right? My programs, all this stuff. And the thing that makes my programs different this time around is that they're mine. It's what got me
Mhm,
through this transition. But
mhm,
what most women don't realize is that this transition in our life, it's permanent. We're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. But what we need is, how do we navigate through it? And it's the things like resetting our nervous system and stepping outside, even if it is on the balcony, or even if it is just sitting out on the steps and taking a few deep breaths. That's all that our body's asking. And I think that's the thing. For me, the last, I would say, 12 weeks have been an eye opener for me,
hmm,
because I've had to take time off of work because I really was experiencing burnout from the hospital. So the
mhm.
last 6 weeks, I've been sitting in silence with myself, but realizing that it's what my body has been needing and been crying out for. Because what happened is, in November before Thanksgiving, I lost my memory when I was at work.
Oh, wow.
And in that moment of not knowing anyone around me was a wake up call for me.
Mhm,
And in these last weeks, where I've been sitting here and writing and creating and taking the time for myself, I realize that we as women do not grant ourselves rest. We don't grant ourselves space to be. We feel like we have to do all of these things and we have to earn it. And that is not true. It is our
absolutely, yeah.
it is our body is giving us signals, and that's what I'm teaching about what your body's asking for. What are the signs? What do you need to do? It
Mhm,
is stopping and taking a moment. It is recognizing what you need. And I think that we forget that. And our own bodies have its own natural mechanisms for us to slow down, just like our gut. And when we crave things, that's our body telling us we need something. So
mhm.
that's
Yeah.
that, and so that's really about my approach on everything. It's taking time, it's stopping, it's listening, it's really asking your body, what does it need? It's asking yourself, who am I today? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up for me in the world? How do I want to show up for my babies? How do I want to show up for my grandchildren or my sister or my friends? Like all of those things, and showing up that way and asking yourself those questions. Because I believe, like, when you ask these different types of questions, you're giving yourself that moment to just be, that we don't normally give.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I I've lived most of my life that way, right? Even still now, it's like my husband says, anytime you sit down, it's never empty. I'm soon jumping up to fill it with whatever it is. But um, I'm, I guess, interested in menopause. Of course, all women will go through it to some extent, right? And
Yeah.
I was taking the birth control pill when I went through it, and I didn't know, except for a occasional hot flash, I didn't know anything until got off the pill and was no longer having a period. And so, but I had lasting things that started that I didn't know were tied into menopause, right? So I
Yeah.
was having finger contractions, and I got a trigger finger, right? And these things, or my knees started contracting funny, or yeah, it was shifting how I walked and all this stuff. And um, so finally, I did some research and started going to a health coach, and found out it was magnesium shortage because of hormone change, and so my body
Mhm.
wasn't. So it was. I was That was my experience with um, menopause. So the lasting effects are still there, right? A lot of them they've eased, but I still deal with those, even though it's been probably 10 years since um, s- um, I guess I've been in postmenopause. So that brings up something. Could you just kind of briefly, or an outline of the phases of menopause and normal symptoms in each?
Well, the way that I see it from my perspective, menopause starts from the time as little girls, when we have our period, that
Hmm.
we're going into womanhood.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, like, you're going through all of these different phases when you have your menstrual cycle,
Yeah.
and so, but even after, say, because they say now you're in menopause when you no longer have a period. Or, like me, because I had cervical cancer, they took out my um they took everything except for my ovaries. But even then, so this is the thing about it, when you look at all of it in this retrospect, the thing that happens when we're grown, as we go, and we need to think about this even early on in our stages before we get to this point, right? Because when we go through into perimenopause, into menopause, the those ovaries excrete out the things that we need, the hormones that we need. And when they no longer excrete the other hormones in our bodies, like the adrenal glands, they support that, which is a stress gland, right? It supports the rest of our body through the rest of those that phase in our, when we transition, right, into no longer having a period. And so that's why you still have um like crazy ups and downs with like mood swings and all of that kind of stuff too, because I still kept my period tracker. I still kept
Mhm.
that because that still is, my body's still going through the change and the rhythm of that. So I think it's still a base to look back on, if you still have it, to know, like right now, I still have um I'm on hormone replacements, because when they did all of the my tests, because I was like freak out, like in August, because I had my surgery in July, in July,
This past year?
Yeah, this past year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
January, March, April, May, June. Yeah, in June. So I had it in June, and then by the time I was done with my leave in August, because we did labs, and I think it's really important that you do have a doctor that you talk to and you do your labs, and if that doctor isn't listening to you, find another doctor. Like, that's just the bottom line. They're not gods. Okay, we put them on
Mhm.
pedestals. They're not. Like, I've worked in this
Right.
industry. They're not. So she did labs, and then with the labs and looking at labs from February to August, they were so crazy. Like, my testosterone was plummeted. My estrogen and progesterone were like at low levels. So it really was a huge thing for me to make that decision to do that, because here I am. I believe in all this stuff and doing it in a natural kind of way, right? Even the hysterectomy, that was like a struggle for me too, because I was like, I didn't really want to lose that part of myself. That was who I was as a woman, that's
Right. Sure.
because, like, that's what God gave me, a life, to be a life giver. But even though I realize I'm still a life giver to all the women around me, and that kind of a thing. So, I still that was a light shined on me in that time, and it was like, okay, but it was not easy to make that decision to do that. But now I feel better that I've
Mhm.
done it, but I still have moments where I still feel a little crazy. Like, we feel, I know you know what I'm talking about, because there are moments in a woman's life where she feels like, what is the hell going on with me? I feel like I am like this crazy person. I don't know who I am, because I literally felt like that. I would cry. One of the ladies, we had like 9 women at work pregnant,
Oh, wow.
and I am like crying. And then another gal
My
saying she
goodness.
hadn't had her period, and I was like crying. I was like, I just want to have mine, because I would feel
Oh,
better. Like, I would feel better after that time. These are some of the things that we don't really talk about that stuff. And so, to me, I would still, even now, I still have some of those same feelings, and I'll go back to that period tracker and be like, oh, because I'm in this phase,
hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so I think that that's valid. And I think we don't recognize our own bodies when it comes to these things. And so, to get back to your question, I think that, your perimenopause can last for years and years and years, right? And it can happen when you're in your 20s. It can happen when you're in your 30s
Mhm.
and your 40s. But a lot of that's happening because I believe the way we eat and how we handle stress and all of those things in our bodies. And that's why women are going through some of this stuff earlier on. And but there's nothing wrong with it. It's normal. I mean, for centuries women have gone through it, but they look to other women. How did you go through it, but it
Mhm.
was in private that they did it. It was
Sure.
like you went to the elder ladies, and they're the ones that helped you through whatever it was that you were going through. And so, to me, I feel like every woman is different.
Mhm.
I mean, I battle hot flashes, not tremendous, like where you're just burning up, where you could see people who you could tell that they're going through it, right?
Mhm.
But I did things. I ate. I was aware, and I was willing to take the steps to lessen that, giving up certain things. A lot of us don't want to give up our coffee or give up cheese or give up, sweets or any of those things. But it's not like you're having to give it up forever. It might just be for this moment in time that you're giving that up. And I think that we hook onto that one thing, like you have to give
Mm.
up something or whatever. But then at the same time, we're like, oh my God, what do I do? I can't, function, but it's really simple things, like for me, when I couldn't sleep, and I still have problems occasionally, but I go back, I have a very strict, one thing that I'm very strict on is my sleep. I go to bed at a certain time every day and I wake up at a certain time every day. And if you're one of my friends, you know this about me, right? Like my best friend in Idaho, one time I called her at like 9 o'clock and she answered the phone. She goes, "What's going on? Are you okay?" Because she knows I'm in bed at a certain time, and so like that kind of thing. But there's things that you just have to like. I believe this. It's the small little things that we do that to change or shift into this season of life. And it is changing how we eat, and it's changing about, even if it's raining or snowing outside or sunny, we still go outside and ground ourselves when we don't feel like we want to. It's all of that. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
Yeah, nature is so important. On twice a year, at the equinoxes in March and September, I do a program. It's free. I just tell people about it and encourage them to do it and give them some information to hold a tree, because trees heal us. And just to remind people to go. And the purpose specifically is to send our intentions through the trees throughout the universe, because their energy will broadcast our energy, our intentions. And so it's just, I know that connection with nature has been very important for me in my inner healing, but all my life. Yeah, all
yeah.
my life. Yeah.
Well, this is what's funny. I've never been a big nature person. This is, I never liked the rain. Um, when I was a kid, though, when I was 12 and 13, I worked for the Conservation Corps when I was a kid in the Adirondack Park in New York, because I grew up in New York. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't necessarily loved it or anything like that, but I did feel a sense of peacefulness when I was there, and the beauty of the things that we did, because it was work, right? You're building out the trail. You're taking away the like lean-tos that have the big logs in front of them. This was something that we did. We cleared that out. But it's funny how when you come back around, what you see yourself in a different way, or you're back in that same thing years later. The other thing is that my partner, who had passed away almost 19 years ago, we ended up hiking, and I vowed I would never hike ever again, because
Oh.
we were going up this mountain, not a mount, well, like kind of a mountainside, but we were going up this side, and where the view was fantastic. But the thing was there were snakes on the trail, and it freaked me out. And I would just remember him saying to me, "Angela, hop on my back. I'll carry you down." I mean, that's pure love right there, right? Pure love, because he could see how uptight and anxious and all this stuff was for me, and everything. And so, but it wasn't until I did this leadership program for women, and it was down in California, and we were on this mountainside. It was the biggest group of women they'd ever had, was over 100 of us. But they cleared out these sides on side of the mountainside, and we had tents, and you were there by yourself for 24 hours in your tent. You didn't have anything, no phones, nothing, and you just journal. And I remember being in that tent, and I remember just meditating or whatever and journaling, and it came to me and realizing what snakes represented to me in my life. It wasn't anything bad, and it came back to that moment and time with him. And it was about knowing that you're shedding, and new things are about to happen, so don't worry. Every time I see snakes, it's that same exact thing, right? And so I remember going back up on this mountainside again with another friend of mine. I said, "Hey, will you go with me?" And I was like, this friend of mine, he held space for me the whole time that we were walking up there, because I was talking to myself the whole time. He probably thought I was a mad woman, but I was like, oh, it's not the same. It looks so different and all this stuff. Well, there had been a fire up there too, mind you. And I remember coming up around this one bin where I saw these snakes lined up at one point and they weren't there.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is so crazy. And but it was like it was release of letting go of all of that. Right. And then it wasn't
Mhm.
until this last year I climbed that sucker twice. I climbed it with another nurse friend of mine and another friend of mine. And it was like I got a whole different experience every time. And that's the thing about the trails. If you do them again, it's something totally different than what you would what it was the time before that, and so in that whole process I realized, when you were talking about trees, and it's true, because if you are actually a nature lover, you have a tree that calls out to you.
Mhm.
The western redwood is my tree. And the thing about, I mean, I can describe them to a T. They have the most soft, fuzziest layered bark. And they just, every time I see them, they just say, come hug me. Let me take away some of your pain or some of your stress. And I remember one time I was walking in this forest and just down the street from here. And I was feeling all these things, and all of a sudden I walk around this bend, and here's this field full of all these western red cedars. It just brought me so much joy. I was like, oh my gosh, you were just right where I needed you to be. And so it just, that's what nature does. It just really can heal you. And even like your garden, like going out there and being in the garden, or, like this last week, I planted this spider plant that I got this last summer when I was in Idaho with my best friend. Her mom had one. I was like, I need one of that. I need a clipping off that. I want one.
Mhm.
So she gave me one. I finally planted it, and it was just, it felt nice. I was waiting for the right time, when you get your hands in the dirt, kind of a thing. It's
Mhm.
another way of grounding us, because that's what the earth does. It heals us, the vibration of being out there. Like I was saying to you earlier, with I wanted to share like what the air does when you're out there, right? I wrote this down, so I got to read
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah, please.
So, it's kind of like these elements of the earth, right? We get the air when you're out there, right? And you can feel that breeze on you. And when you get that breeze, when you're out there, just imagine what that breeze is doing for you. It's taking away, um, you know, whatever's trapped in your body, because it pushes against you, right? And it gives you the oxygen and all the things that you need. But then when I'm on a trail and I'm near water, that's a whole other thing, right? Because it's getting the flow. You can hear the rush of the water. When you see some of my things, when you go on my page, sometimes you might see something when I'm hiking, and just that sound of that water. And you think about it, even if it's not like a rushing stream, but if you're out there in the rain in the middle of nowhere, and if you stop and just listen and
Mhm.
hear it, it has a whole different vibe to it. And the other thing about it, it's like it releases things from you too. Like, when the rain pours down, think about it, it's washing away. And then and then the earth, like like it's like I was saying before, it's like that vibration. It's what it's giving you, it's allowing, and it's also holding you up in the same process as it vibrates through you when you're out
Mhm.
there. And then the other thing is like our light and darkness. It's like how important that is, like to get out there and grab that light, because it also is the other thing. It's like our internal clocks. It's like when I come back and say to you about going to bed at a certain time and doing this thing. I mean, you might not feel it. And you might think, oh, this is so stupid. Why am I going to bed at 9 o'clock at night? Man, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still not doing anything. Well, you didn't give it time. You didn't give it time to like allow your body to reset. So that's the thing, when you're doing something new, don't give up on it. Keep
Mm.
doing it. Keep going. And and sometimes I think the other part of it is we do need a coach to help us sometimes, that holds us accountable, that holds our hands sometimes, or be like, how do I get through this? I'm struggling with this. And someone to just hold the space for you. Like, I can't begin to tell you that, like, if you come on a retreat with me or you are on a hike with me, the space that's being held for whoever is with me, and I'm even holding my own space, like, it's phenomenal because you can stop for a moment because your feet hurt, or you can just sit for a moment and let your tears roll off your face because that's what nature is supposed to do for you. It's allowing you to reset. It's allowing you to have the natural mechanisms in our bodies to let us cry, let us scream, let us be angry, or whatever it is that you need when you're out there. It's allowing us to be that. It's giving us all the elements that it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And it holds us in the right
Yes.
moment.
Yeah, beautiful. For sure.
Nature is so powerful. I mean, it really helped me walk me through a 10-year relationship. I remember walking in up in elevation, like maybe it wasn't like 3,000 feet in elevation, but I know, like, when I'm going up in that elevation there, it's doing something for me. It's knocking off all of that crap that was on top of me. And when you get to the top, because it's not about what's at the top, it's about what's in the middle. I mean, we've heard that, but it truly is. It's about what's in the middle of all of that getting to the top. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you how many snakes I saw all year round. I remember going on a coastal hike, coming back. It was the right before my surgery, and I was like, "Mr. Snake, you need to move because I'm freaking out. You're freaking me out." He moved off, but I stood there. I stood in that moment to see it because they freaked me out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and then the other thing about it that, I mean, I was when I the day before my surgery, I went on this hike to up to Fox Point, and I remember praying out loud. I was with a friend of mine. She just held space for me the whole time. She just was quiet and everything. And I remember just saying, God, how come I can't be still like these snakes on the path? I mean, they're just basking in the sun. They're just
Mm-hmm.
pausing for a moment because they need to. Why can't I do this? Why can't I just be okay with them being there? And it was like my own personal reflection of what I needed. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what nature does. It's like it reflects back everything you're going through if you stop and let it.
Right. Right. Mm,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could
lovely.
sit and talk about, I mean, I'll hear people say stuff to me too. So on TikTok, there's this video that I posted on there, and usually my TikToks is just only about my hikes. That's all I post on there. And I posted this hike, or I posted this particular one, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but I have not come back to it. I haven't, like, rebutted anybody's stuff that they've said on there because it was a brutal thing. But what happened on my backpacking trip, I had to climb up the side of this hill or side of this rock. I had to climb up it with 40 pounds on my back. And I just walked across a massive, well, let me step back. I just walked up on the top of the mountain, not the top, but I could see Mount Hood, because you're going around it, you see the peak.
Mm-hmm.
And I just walked around, and I'm coming back around, and I'm going, and I've been walking all day up this mountainside and down. And then I stopped at this one area, Cloud Cap, sat and had a snack, met a young man, chatted, then went back down and then crossed this massive water crossing. And then I had to across this massive water crossing, and I had to climb up this rock side. I'm freaking out. Okay. I don't know if you see this video, but I'm freaking out. I'm praying out loud. God, please help me. Please help me. This older gentleman, he puts my poles in my back, on my backpack, and he's telling me how to climb up it. And he said,
Oh,
so there's rope there.
okay.
Okay. So he's telling me, he's standing right there. He's guiding me up. He goes, don't trust the rope. Trust yourself. That's what he kept saying. And
Hmm.
I believe that was like God speaking to me in a lot of ways too. Don't trust the world. Trust yourself. You're going up this. Trust you. Trust yourself. Trust your abilities. Trust you, what you have inside you. You've been working all year for this trip. You've got what it takes. And that's what I was doing, going all the way up there, right? And I get up to the top and I stop and I thank the man. And then I sit down and I'm freaking out and I'm videotaping myself because I wanted to videotape the live part of it, right? What I was feeling, because I
Mhm.
wanted to see it for myself again. And I was like, oh God, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, and this is what I kept saying. I don't know if you saw it, but this particular video that I posted on there got like 16K views or whatever,
Oh, wow.
and 40 some comments and everything and stuff. But the thing about what I didn't share, and eventually I will, I didn't stop. I didn't stop and do my breathing techniques.
Hmm.
I didn't reset myself. What I was scared of was nothing.
Hmm.
It was my nervous system reacting. That was what
Mhm.
was happening.
Sure,
But
sure.
the thing is, I just climbed up the side of this rock side that was so steep. I mean, it was steep. There's no way. You had to use the rope to climb up, to get up it, to pelt, and I was like, holy shit. Look
Hmm.
at what you just did, Angela. And so I was still walking through all of that all the way up, and I had still miles to go. And I shook it off and I just kept going. But I was like, but that's the thing that people don't realize what happens. That's what the body looks like when you're freaking
Mm.
out, right? But that was an
Yeah,
extreme.
yeah.
And I hear people like, you shouldn't be hiking alone. No, the thing is I prepared for that. You're just seeing a glimpse of something
Mm.
that was a vulnerability, and that's the thing that people thrive off of too, the
Yeah,
vulnerability parts. And so that's
yeah.
the thing, like, I've been so vulnerable over these last 6 7 weeks, even on my social media, and sharing a lot of my life, because wasn't for anybody else. It was for me. It was part of my healing, my journey.
Mhm.
And it's like, that's what that was about. It was posting all these things, but at the same time it was showing who I really am, and what I just walked through, because that wilderness walk, that was not easy. That was tough. And I did it by myself, but not really, because God was with me every step of the way.
Mm.
I mean, I walked through some crazy terrain that I don't, like, I think about it and it's like I was able to walk through that because I did 70 hikes that prepared me for that.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of us don't realize. You've prepared yourself for where you are right now. And like, if I could speak to my younger self, or to the younger ladies out there, it's like, don't wait. You need to do these things now
Mm.
to prepare yourself for when you get to where I am, because I truly believe that I don't suffer nearly as much as what a lot of other women do, because I did change my diet. I do look at my gut health, because it is truly about a lot of those things. Our gut is the what heals us in a lot of ways. They say the gut mind, all of that. And it
Mhm.
really is true, because, and when you give yourself the right nutrition that it needs, it thrives in that. Like, I'll say this as a, like, you eat lots of berries and vibrant green, vibrant berry looking colors of foods. And those are the things that will also help when it comes to hot flashes and drinking, herbal teas like raspberries and hibiscus and that kind of stuff. That they're like, things that you can do. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to heal yourself overnight. It doesn't work like that.
So it's kind of like fighting fire with fire. I meant the color red, like hot flashes would make you red. So you eat red food, red colored food,
Yeah, like
fire versus
raspberries,
fire. Yeah.
blueberries, all those kinds of things because they have lots of antioxidants in them and they just, and they're just good for you.
Yeah. What about, what do you feel with so much? It seems like store purchased food that is perhaps shipped a long way or um, you know, picked a long time and they'll lose nutrients until they get to you. Or also, a lot of big corporate farms that grow crop after crop after crop, and the soil is no longer full of nutrients. Do you find that that affects then how the foods you eat would heal you?
I
Or
think
does
that
the food
when
still have it in it to heal you
I
anyway?
th- I think that you still have to still go, like, to me, I think if you do a lot of like locally grown places like farmers markets and stuff like that, I think you're gonna get better. But there is have you ever heard of the clean or the dirty dozen, like that?
Yes.
Okay, like trying your hardest to get the things that you need to eat, like that are in that category, you know those types of things. Like they come out, I think there's a thing that comes out, I think it comes out like once a year, and it looks at like what foods have the highest pesticides that you just to stay away from. Like one thing I will not eat, and I only eat it organic, is celery.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
that's one of the
absolutely.
things that are on there, right? But I also was watching something the other day. You also like really cleaning your vegetables, with you don't have to buy that special solution, apple cider vinegar and baking soda and lemon juice in your water and soak your stuff. I mean, honestly, that's, you don't have to go high tech fancy
Yeah.
on those kinds of things. But I think, like you want to try to eat, even like meats and stuff like that. You want to try to eat it organically type stuff. But a lot of people can't do that. They're
Mhm.
on a strict budget and those kinds of things. But I think if you do the best that you can, that's what you need to do. But I think if you still eat whole foods, stay away from processed stuff,
Mhm.
and that way you're better off.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, I mean, I mean, the world is inundated with all these different things to eat, chips, like when you think about it, it's like food is in its own category, right? Because you can dive into food in so many ways. You
Mhm.
can journal about it. You can say, why do I eat this particular thing? Why does this make me feel this way? All these kinds of things. 'Cause I don't really do fast food at all.
Mhm.
And
Right,
then when
right.
I do, and if I do, I feel like crap. Like I'll have, and I've done this experiment before where I ate something that wasn't great, right? It wasn't, fast food. And then the next day I woke up and I'd be talking bad to myself.
Mm.
Where is that coming from? And it is about how we eat,
Mm.
and I truly believe that. I mean, over the years, because I don't break out in hives anymore. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I would break out bulges all
Mm.
over my body and stuff. And if I do break out in hives, it will be from something I ate that didn't know that I'm sensitive to, or if I'm really in a stressful environment, I'll break out in hives.
Mm.
But it's the body's mechanism. I mean, if everybody has something that, if you notice, if they do something, eat something, or in stressful environments or whatever, their body will say something to them if they're in tune with it.
Right, right. And that's what nature helps with, or regulating your nervous system then to To be able to tune into your body, to listen to or feel into where it is. And
But this is the thing about it though. If you it's your intentions. Your intentions is everything.
hmm
I think that's
oh
in
yeah.
everything that you do. When you set the intentions of what it is that you want from it, then you will get it. I mean, I set the intention that I was going to hike 50 hikes in a year. And I set the intention out. I did the things that I needed to do. And you know how I achieved that? I sat down every time my schedule came out from work and I plugged in those hikes in the days that I was off. That was
hmm
the intention. It's the same thing. If you want to change your eating habits, you have to set the intention of what it is that you're trying to get, and you write it out and you schedule it, you do it. It's intentions behind everything. Even when you go out in nature, you're setting an intention. What do I want from it? Because also people out there hiking, but they're not. They're just out there to be out there. They might have earbuds in or whatever. Like, how is
Yeah.
that? What's your intentions there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, I mean, and I'm not saying that that's wrong for them because they're still getting what the benefit of that, right? Of what they need
hmm
out there. It's just, but when you set the intention,
hmm
that is the thing. Like when you sign up for one of my programs, the first thing I do is, what's your intention? Let's write about this. What's the
hmm
intention? What is it that you want? Because your intentions change over time too.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They kind of grow with you, right? Grow or
Yeah.
change with you.
I mean, who would have thought that I would have hiked 70 hikes in a year from September to September? And then a backpack and do a solo backpack, never backpacking ever in my life and
Mhm.
doing this. And the thing about it was, it wasn't like I did it in a way where it was going to harm me or any of that because I
Mhm.
had intentions. I researched, I did it. I reached out to lots of people who backpack. Um, I hiked with like my friend Dawn. Her and her husband were backpackers for years and stuff, and they gave me tools and they gave me things I didn't. If I didn't have something in my pack, they gave it to me. And it was like they were. So it wasn't like, oh, I just was going out there blindsided.
Mhm.
you know I set the intention and I knew that I was going to do it. Even if, my one friend was supposed to go with me and she couldn't because she had something going on with her feet, and there was no way she could have hiked for 4 days the way that I hiked. There was no way. But the thing was, she was the only person when I was out on the trail with satellite, because she could follow me. We had a link to my app that she could follow
Mhm.
me. And in satellite, every night I would text her and let her know I'm okay
Mhm.
every night. One day I didn't text her because it was storming so bad.
Oh, yeah, you probably didn't get a signal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next day when I was able to get a signal, I text her and said, I'm okay. I'm coming off the mountain today,
Mhm.
and everything and stuff. So it wasn't like, and then I had other people that were pinging, they knew my location, they could see my location and stuff like that. So it wasn't like, I was up there just like, oh my God, this crazy lady or whatever. No, and I would hear lots of negative feedback about it. I would hear positive feedback. The day that I did that, the climb up the rock, earlier that day I was coming across a glacier and came around the corner, and there my friend Tabitha was, her and her husband.
Aw, just waiting for you. Yeah.
No, they were
Oh,
they were doing the hike too. She didn't
oh,
know because I went the opposite way. I went counterclockwise, they went clockwise, and she didn't
okay.
know she was going to see me. And it was like God sent a gift to me. He sent her to me, and me to her, because she was feeling it, because they hiked it 2 days in a row. They were crazy, and we hugged each other and cried, and it was great. So
Aw.
it's like God sent angels to me. They call it trail angels on the trail, and He surely did every step of the way.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Hey, could you talk a little bit about, I saw on your webpage, I believe it was, that you were talking about cortisol and inflammation. And so, do both of those increase with menopause?
They
And
do, but
why?
they
Why?
do because see, like, but it's all about, it comes back to eating. Like the
Mm,
inflammation and all those things, it's what you're eating that causes a lot of that. And like the thing for me, for my cortisol issues that I had, I did you can do blood labs or whatever, but we ended up doing that, but it didn't show nothing, right? And we did a spit test, and a lot of times insurance doesn't pay for that, so I'd pay out of
mm,
pocket.
right?
And what that showed for me, because we're all different, right? We all have different things. And I mean, because I was waking up at like 2 o'clock in the morning every morning, it was ridiculous. And all this, even staying on my sleep schedule, right? Because like I said, I never veer from that, and I would still get up and still, And when we did that test, what it showed was that my cortisol levels were inverted because I worked graveyard for many years, right? And then I went off of working graveyard and did day shift. Well, when I was doing some travel work, I had an assignment where I was doing nights. Well, when
Mm,
I took this permanent position um, at this hospital that I work at, I said, I'm doing days, I'm not doing nights. And so I went
mhm,
back to nights. Well, it was my body didn't convert back to a normal rhythm, and so we ended
mm,
up doing some supplements to help myself kind of convert back to that rhythm. But yeah, it really does. When you look at all of that, it shows when you're sleeping and all these things and how to do it. And I can't give you what she gave me or whatever, because it's
mhm,
these are things that with my provider we've worked out. But it's you know in healthcare, I mean, a lot of people who work in healthcare, they don't realize how much that job stresses the body in such ways, and we just override it and keep going. And I think you have it in other jobs too, because we still, when you're in a high stress job, but you just keep pushing through it, and you just go, this is what we got to do, instead of stopping and listening to what we need to.
oh, yes, I know. That happened to me. And after few years, I think it was like a little over 5 years, and it was like my mind started not working right. All of a sudden, I hit it. My dad had died, and so this was the year marker after my dad had died, and I was still working at that stressful job, and it was like all these things started happening. I was making bad decisions, and my mind just wasn't working.
Yeah, another one of my really good friends, she just transitioned to a different job, and she said, I didn't realize what you were saying all these years after you left there. And she said, I finally realized what's happening. And she's older, she's got a couple more years to retire, but she's still working. But this year, her and her husband, they have a foreign exchange student, and they shifted, gears and changed. And she was saying, I didn't realize how much I was so consumed by everybody else instead of worrying about myself. I didn't know that how much of a burden that was on me with everything. And now I feel so much lighter, and I'm not working nearly as much as like what I used to. And I was like, yeah, because what we do is we add more, so that we don't have to deal with what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And I will say, for me personally, this past year has been much more than just all of this. I've healed from a lot of childhood traumas, that I've worked through. And I believe that a lot of it is because of nature. It is because I allowed myself to be in the presence of God, and ask Him to heal me. Um, Being a mom has not been easy. I have grown children. My
It doesn't
youngest.
get easier, does it?
No, it doesn't. I think it doesn't because you still worry about them no matter how old they
Oh, I
get. My
know,
mom,
I know.
I'm
Yeah,
51 years old. My mom still worries about me,
yeah, yeah,
and stuff. But I also feel that for me personally, God's put me on this planet to be a healer of other women, a healer for my mom, a healer for both of my children. Um, you can't be a healer if you can't heal yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's kind of what I just walked through for over a year of my own healing journey. And it makes me so proud to be able to say that and to be able to know that I can walk beside somebody and they can know that I know exactly what they're feeling and hold their hand through it, because a lot of times we won't reach out our hands
Yeah.
as women, and because we don't feel safe, and and I know that I am safe, and I know that I can walk women through the wilderness, because we go through many wildernesses in our life, not just one, not
Oh,
just menopause.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
abs
so
absolutely. It's life in general. It's like a wilderness, isn't it?
it really is, and it's like learning how to navigate it, taking things that really help, like, breathing techniques, cold plunges or cold showers. Like, and I'm not saying that's for everybody, and I'm not saying you need to do it all the time, because you have to be careful. You have to know what your body's saying to you. And I think that that's the component, I think, that we need to learn, is to listen
Yeah,
to our inner self.
right. Definitely, you're right on. I was wondering, in the time we have left, do you wanna talk about your offerings, your work that you're doing, your courses or your programs?
Well, this is the thing. The thing about my programs is that this 30-day program that I'm doing, the reset, it's special because I've never created it before.
Mhm.
I've always used other people's things. So this is my it's like you're not going to see big changes. You're just going to be able to walk step by step through small shifts, because that's where the real work begins. And then once you're done with that and you get a taste of that, the real work begins when you step into the next part of it, because it's like a two-phase program that I'm working on right now and I'm building out. It's in the rebuilding stages or building stages at right now. And it's a 6-month program, but it's segmented into two 90-day programs.
Mhm.
So, but they coincide with each other, and it's really a bigger, deeper dive into things like your gut health. Whereas the 30-day program, it's just about setting intentions. It's about looking at small, micro, manageable things that you can do over a 30-day period. It's creating and continuing to keep doing those habits
Mhm.
every day, because that's where you're going to see consistency.
Yeah,
And so
it takes that consistency, the daily routine or the weekly routine or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, and the way that it's set up to where you get a a video every single day,
that's
a
nice.
little snippet of, like, it might be 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes, it might be just 3 minutes, but it's something for you to look at. And then, you have to do the work. That's the thing. If you don't do the work, you don't set the intentions, you're not going to get anything from it. And
Mhm.
that's the bottom line on it. And I do feel like, because these three programs, it's one program in one. Like I told you, when you looked at the website, I'm revamping that whole thing.
Mhm.
I haven't even touched it on it, honestly, because to me, that's this is the what I need to do here. This is the
Sure.
real work, right?
Sure. Uh-huh.
And so when you take 6 months and you commit to yourself, you're going to see massive changes in your gut health, in your nervous system resets, in everything that you're doing in your life. So this is like the prelude. You have to do the 30 days before you
Mm.
can get into the next phase of it. And
Uh-huh.
that's what it is. I'm building out. And so in this, like you get into this program, these programs I'm doing right now, there are special offers at this moment in time because they're beta. You're coming in and you're looking at my work that I've done on my own self, and might have to tweak it for you because you're your own blueprint. But the basis of a lot of it is the same. But the
Mm-hmm.
way you eat might be different.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to incorporate that a little different. The way that you like I read something years ago, or I listened to this podcast one time, and this guy was talking about breathing techniques, and he's like, I have like hundreds of breathing techniques, and he's like, I've done them all. And I was like, yeah, I know what you're saying, I've done a lot too. And he's like, but you have to find the one that works just for you.
Yeah.
And my one that I like, it's like a Wim Hof breathing technique. It's where you and you hold your breath. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, if you know anything about Wim Hof. Um, but I've modified it to where it works for me and how I
Mm-hmm.
do it. And so I think that that's the thing. And that's what makes my programs different from how I taught before to how I teach now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think because I've walked through all of it, and now now I'm like, oh, that's what needed to be in it. Oh, that's why I couldn't speak. Like to come on a podcast, I was like, this feels great because I know it. Whereas if you would have asked me a year ago, forget it. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right. Awesome.
So,
Awesome. So
so it's
life keeps getting better despite menopause, right?
it sure it does because when you embrace that,
Yeah.
and you find when you say to yourself, I'm not broken. I don't need to be fixed. I just need to figure out how do I work through what I'm going through. So now, because this is the thing, I don't know if you experience this, but you conquer one thing and then another thing comes up.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
so it's like learning how to shift through the hot flashes, learning how to shift through the roller coaster emotions of roller coaster ride of emotions that come and go. It's learning how to not feel depressed. Like if you are have ever experienced depression in your life, when you're in menopause or perimenopause, it's 10 times worse. You have
Um,
to you have to go outside. I mean, I will tell you, like seasonal depression, a real deal. I
mhm.
beat it. I beat it by going outside, being in the rain. I love the rain. I used to hate it. I would never go outside in the rain. Now it's just you just have better gear to go out in it, and
Mhm.
you enjoy it, you hear it, you feel it. And I think that that's the thing that I think we have to, as women, realize there's nothing wrong with us. We don't need to be fixed. What we need is to figure out how do we navigate what's happening to me right now.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I guess it's another way of saying it's the not the destination, it's the journey, right? It's not navigating menopause, or I mean, it's not navigating this step and then navigating that step and navigating this one. It's shifting through life, right?
Yeah.
As you need to. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and what better way to do it with someone who actually knows what who has actually been through it and
Hmm.
knows it and looks at it, because I'm constantly researching stuff. I'm constantly looking at symptoms and all these things, all of it. I mean, I could talk about it, but it's like, why? It's what you're personally going through or what this person's going through. So let's look at that and figure out how do we navigate through this part of it.
Right.
What do we need to shift or change or add to, because the thing is we have to understand we don't have to give up something. We might have to give up something for a moment,
Mhm.
And I think that we forget that. I remember my doctor saying that she had a lady who I can't remember how what she said, but it was like befriended her, like ended their relationship because she told her she needed to give up something, you
Mm.
know, but she didn't hear what she was saying. And I was like, I got it, because when we did a food sensitivity, she told me I had to give up eggs, and I cried, literally cried for 10 minutes because it was a
Yeah.
staple, right? And I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I gave up eggs for about 30, 40 days. And then, I eat eggs occasionally, but they do make me feel crappy. But, it's not like, but if I eat tons of them, yeah. But, it's like moderation in everything.
Yeah. For sure. Well, very, very good. If there's one last comment or suggestion or encouragement you could give to people, what would you say?
I would say my biggest thing that I would say to somebody is that has really been the biggest game changer for me in everything that I have done this past year. It is literally going outside. It's going outside. It's walking, whether it's raining, sunshine. I can't say it's snowing here, but if it was, I'd still go out and just get out there. When you feel like you're stuck or you feel like you can't move, just go outside, even if it's on your patio. Take 5 deep breaths in and let it out. And that will, you will, whether you get, like this week, like I was saying to you earlier, I was walking outside and it still didn't change how I felt. I still felt heavy because of my friend's son passing away on Mount Hood, and but I did it, and I know that it helped me, even if I still felt heavy.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Angela, thank you so much for joining me, and I've enjoyed our discussion. And it's always great to meet up with someone who's as passionate about being in nature as I am, and that's very awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you everyone for watching and listening. And if you um, um, were encouraged or got something out of it, please like and subscribe and follow Angela on social media. So we'll catch you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Let's see. There we go.